Welcome everybody to another episode of the Grants and Contract Podcast. I am your one of your co-hosts, and Lainey, my other co-host, is here. And today we have a awesome guest, a friend of mine as well. We've known each other for many years now. So I'm going to be introducing her in a second. But if you're joining us live, thanks for joining us live on this podcast here. This is the Grants and Contract Podcast, where everything we talk about is around how to win some grants, how to win some contracts, and what you need to do to prepare to succeed in this area here. But we bring in topics. Sometimes we do a class. Sometimes we bring in guests to share about their own journey. And so today we have a guest. But if you're joining us here, let us know. Give us either your name or your company name, and tell us where you're joining us from, so we can just have a little bit perspective of who's joining us, who's here with us. With that said, Lainey, you got any opening remarks you want to share before we introduce our guest here?
No, just so excited to see everybody. I'm really excited for everybody to learn more about Bonita's journey. I'm really excited to learn. I've got to hear tidbits of it, but not the full story. So I'm very excited for everyone. Bonita, tell us, where are you joining us from today?
First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to come on this podcast. And I am in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah,
I'm a Southern girl, a country girl.
So yeah, just some, like Abe said, if everybody will drop their name, where you're joining us from, your company, and then also we stick around. As always, we have some fun bonuses at the end, so you want to make sure that you stay till the end to be able to get those. And we have a new one that you haven't heard about this so far, so I think some of y'all will be very excited. Hopefully everybody will be very excited for that bonus at the end.
All right. So with that, I'm going to give you guys a little teaser of what we're going to be talking about, and then we're going to introduce our guests here. So this lady here, her first contract was $27,000 babysitting. So you're going to hear her story, how she won her first contract, and then you're going to hear about how she was able to leave her full-time job after she won a $220,000 grant. And then you'll hear about her journey, the struggles of being an entrepreneur, the journey of running a nonprofit, but also the journey of just, being able to get to the other side and look back a little bit. And so she'll be able to share some of the pitfalls, the challenges that she's seeing, and then also the journey and the joy of being able to help other people in her success. And then we'll talk a little bit about how the potential new Trump administration can impact her industry and our industry as a whole. And we, because there's changes that's happening. So we'll dive a little bit into that as well. But overall, we'll talk about just grants and opportunities. And we're going to wrap it up and reveal to all of you. And we're going to have a great giveaway, as Lainey alluded to earlier. We're going to reveal a new thing that we're going to be doing in 2025. It's going to be awesome. You have to stick around to the end to see the reveal. We're going to actually show you what this new thing is. Yeah. And then we're going to give out a free bonus for those that stick around to the very end. So with that said, I want to really dive in and introduce a friend of mine. Her name is Bonita Clemons. And we met many, many moons ago. I won't say because it's been a while now. But there was a mutual friend, and Bonita was talking about, I want to do some contracts. And this person said, you know what? You got to talk to this person, Abraham. And so we got introduced by a mutual person. And she drove all the way from South Carolina down to Atlanta so that we could meet on a Saturday, and got a chance to meet, connect, and get to know each other. And then since then, she's gone and she's done a lot of great things from a grant perspective and a contracting perspective. So I want to introduce everybody to Ms. Bonita Clemons. And so, Bonita, why don't we start off by just you sharing a little bit about your journey and maybe being how you got started and some of the early days of desiring to want to be an entrepreneur and run a nonprofit.
Again, thank you so much for allowing me to share. So y'all ready for this ride? Because it's a ride. I think all of my life I wanted to run my own things and be my own boss. And I met a young lady who was very instrumental in me even really wanting to embrace and learn more about government contracting. Her name is Tanya Bass, and she's in Atlanta, Georgia. So when she first told me about it, I'm like, it didn't click. I couldn't make no sense out of it. But one day, and I remember this day, I was frustrated and mad and angry. And I was like, I can't do this work thing no more. Because I will admit that I've had about 20 something jobs. So I tell people I'm the hardest worker that I know, but I am a terrible, terrible employee. I'm just terrible being a terrible employee, because when I want to go somewhere, I want to go. So one day I was so frustrated. I called Tanya. I say, Tanya, look, show me how to get in this thing they call SAM. She helped me. I got in. Well, just because you get in don't mean you gonna get no contracts, right? So maybe about several months later, I'm gonna tell y'all the dates. Abe didn't give you the dates. I called Abe in September of 2014. And I said, look, I'm in Sam's. I need some help. I don't know what to do. But I want to be a government contractor because I saw the money that was coming in for people who had the contracts. And he said, okay, I'll mentor you. I said, whatever I need to be mentored. That was in September. Again, all of these years, I go to work, quit, go to work, quit, go to work, quit. And I was determined this time that when I get out, I'm going to stay out. Mm-hmm. So September, we met. And he took me through a training course. And in January, that's not a long time. January, I received my first contract babysitting. That's only about 5 months after being in corporate America and all of the other things I was doing for 20 something years. It took me 5 months to get a contract to babysit for a weekend. I had to fly from Columbia, South Carolina to LA. That in itself was a journey. What was so beautiful about it is that the ink was not signed as I was on my way to the airport. I was still talking to Abe on the phone. Talking to him on the phone, trying to get this contract the way it needed to be. That experience really shifted everything in my mind, my psyche, my soul. I could not have done it without his help at all, period. It just wouldn't have happened. But it was exciting and it was scary. I had to go across country. Once I got there, I had to find, when I say this, this is what I really mean. Like, I got the contract that morning and I had to leave that afternoon. That's how stressful it was. They needed somebody. And so I got there. I don't know who told me to call somebody. I think Abe knew somebody who knew somebody. I called the lady that was there. She had the staff that I needed to help me with 100 and something kids. But I had faith. Abe told me I could do it, and I didn't know I couldn't. So I did it. He said, you got this. I said, okay. But that one contract for the weekend, like he said, was $27,000. And we created an experience for the kids. My background is health and wellness. So I created a health and wellness experience for the kids, even though it was babysitting. So we had yoga, meditation, field day, nutrition classes, and they loved it. And it was right in my field. So that journey, again, it transformed everything in my mind and my heart. I knew that after I got that first one, then the rest of them, I became a believer, a true believer that I can do this. This can be done. And there's a lot of money out here. And it hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. That was just the first one.
Well, let me add a little bit more color to that first contract, because you were running how many organizations at that time? So tell us about the different organizations that you were running while you were working full time. So tell us a little about what you were doing in that
Mhm.
moment, and then we'll come back and share, and we'll talk a little bit more about that first contract and some of the things that happened along the way. So, but tell us at that moment, you were working full-time job.
Yeah,
Fast forward to
doing too
today.
much. I was working
Mhm.
full time at the military base, Shaw
Oh,
Air Force Base, as I was a health consultant for the retirees, the children, and the military spouses. So I was running that program again, working full time. So I had to get off work, get to Columbia because I was living in Sumter, to get on a plane to get to LA. I had to come back, catch that red eye on Sunday night to get back to work Monday. I don't even know how that happened. I did, but I did it. So I had a full time job, also running a nonprofit, Diane's Call. This nonprofit connects femmes with fresh fruits and vegetables. So we do wellness classes, teach women how to grow food. That's a whole thing by itself. So again, running a company, running a nonprofit, and working full time. Now that is really doing too much, right?
So
But I
you
was
so
doing it.
so you had a company called Kid Zone, which does babysitting, and
I
you have a
created it.
company called Bonita Global, which is a health and wellness company, and then you were running a nonprofit called Diane's Call that is all about health and wellness, and you're working full time.
Yes.
So you were doing all these things here. Now, when let me share some thoughts here. When we, as I was mentoring Bonita and she was in a coaching program, I said, okay, you've got a lot of moving pieces. We need to find one place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And doing health and wellness, that could have been one place to start. But we said, let's look at babysitting. And most people think of babysitting. You're thinking, the child care around the corner. But tell us about the type of babysitting that you were doing, because the government buys everything. So let's talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
I would watch kids for $27,000 for 3 days. Also, I would do that. But tell us
well,
your version of
It was
babysitting.
really 2 days.
yeah. Well, that's what I told Abe. I said the glorified baby rate is $10 an hour per kid, and that's it. And you ended up with this contract, $27,000,
Mm-hmm.
which now I'm interested of divided by, like you said, 150 kids. Were we getting actually the glorified baby rate? But yeah, I'm very intrigued
It
about
was
this. And
called.
sorry, I did have this question. So you said you got this contract and you flew out the same day. So then were you kind of just winging it the whole weekend? Like with these yoga classes, or did you already have all this planned?
No, I planned it on the way there, where I had 4 hours of flying time to figure out what we were going to do. And it was called the Yellow Ribbon. I'm not sure if they still do it now. So the government has was having seminars and workshops for people who are retiring, and they were doing it for the spouses and the retirees. Well, they have kids, and they need somebody to watch these kids during the weekend while they go through this conference. Childcare is the biggest issue that a lot of parents run into when it's time to go to a conference. If you need both parents to go, so they said, well, come on, we want the retirees and the spouses. You need to hear this information. Like, what are the next steps once you get out of the military? So again, they needed someone to watch the children while they were in this conference. The biggest thing for me, there was only one piece that was a little scary for me. I wanted to make sure that if a child had an allergy, like we didn't serve no peanuts, because I just didn't want anything to happen. So I was very careful with that, making sure that we had nothing, no snacks or anything that had peanuts. But they did provide, the hotel provided the things, but I still had to tell the hotel what we wanted. It was, again, it's called Yellow Ribbon. They had some other ones, like I can't remember the name, but it was for chaplains. When the chaplains had their workshops, they needed someone to come and watch the kids while they had this workshop.
And
So
most people never really think about childcare, right? And this
right.
is really what the government is different. The government buys everything. and they buy childcare services, they
Mm-hmm.
buy chaplain services, they buy um, funeral services, they do transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with this other lady, and she said she baked cookies, and that's all she does. She has a commercial kitchen, and all she does is cookies. And she said, Abe, do you think the government buys cookies? And I said, well, you know what, I've never done the research, but let me do a little research and let me see if the government buys cookies. And I did the research, and we found a contract out of Fort Benning. They wanted to buy 10,000 fresh baked cookies every single Sunday morning. They didn't want it store bought. They didn't want to buy from Publix and Kroger or from Myers or for any of these other big chain. They wanted someone to bake them fresh and serve it to the military personnel every single Sunday morning. So the
Yes.
government buys. If you're watching us watching this episode here,
Mhm.
and you're thinking, does the government buy what I sell? The answer is most likely yes,
Yes.
that they do buy. If there's a market for it in the private sector, there's a market for it in the government market,
Mhm.
because they buy
Mhm.
everything. And so your first project was babysitting.
Yes.
Now let's talk about let's shift gears a little bit about your nonprofit, right? And
Mhm.
then going after your first grant. So
Mhm.
tell us that journey a little bit, and share that experience.
Well, I actually started the nonprofit in 2001, but fast forward to 2008 or 7, a friend of mine said, "Why don't you become a 501c3?" And I said, "For what?" He said, "So that I can write grants for you. You have to be a 501c3 to actually get grants." And so I did. And so this was the first one that he and I wrote. And as some people do, they like to wait to the last minute. And it was due the day that we were working on it, pretty much was the day it was due that night at 11. They always do it 11:59 p.m. on grants.gov. So we stayed up the night before, all night pretty much, and then worked, and we pressed it like 11:58, what you're not supposed to do. And this grant it fell right in line with what I was already doing. This grant allowed me to create farmers markets in what they call food desert neighborhoods that didn't have transportation. So I set up 6 different markets in 6 different neighborhoods. They provided the money for me to buy the fresh food, and I had to deliver it, well, go to these neighborhoods. And I got an EBT machine, so I was able to sell it at a discount. But again, this was to go into low income neighborhoods. And that grant was for $229,589. When they sent me the paperwork, they said, "We like your grant. We need you to redo the budget." Well, this is our first time doing it, so we had to ask someone like, "What do we need? What's up with the budget?" So someone said, "If they sent you that, you already got it. They just want you to redo the budget." So we had to resubmit the budget, and then we won it.
So tell us a little, was this through Diane's call?
This was through Diane's call, the
Okay.
501c3. Remember, the gentleman said you need to become a 501c3 if you're going to get grants from certain areas. So I have a nonprofit status with the state. That's just a nonprofit status. 501c3 is another status that a lot of the USDA grants require you to have.
Mhm. What is, for our listeners that might not know, tell us a little bit about Diane's call and kind of your mission and vision for that.
Okay, so Diane's call was started really because my mom, her name was Diane. She passed away when she was 42 years old. She had a stroke. And so, my background and master's degree is in public health. And so I saw opportunity where I could just teach women, primarily African American women, because of our health status and our health statistics when it comes to cancer, strokes, and other preventable diseases, where you can either say we're at the top or the bottom. Both of them are bad. So I wanted to help change those statistics. So Diane's Call, again, is named after my mom, who passed away when she was 42. And if you have reached the age of 42, you'll know that's a very, very, very young age. And it is, and then we said call. So it's a call for women to make their health a priority. What's the first thing when it comes to health and wellness? Your nutrition. Nutrition is number one. Of course, exercise is a part of that. And there's a host of other things, but that nutrition is number one. So we do a lot with nutrition and wellness. And again, this is a organization that seeks to change the health status of women. Primarily, we target African American women, and we use food and nutrition as our first line of defense to do that.
That's so interesting. I know when I was doing some research, I saw some interviews that you've done. And I think this is such a cool organization. That's actually my 2025, like, I don't want to say resolution because it's a life change, is focusing more on whole foods. And I try to be pretty healthy already, but focusing more on that, whole foods, like you're talking about farmer market foods, very health and wellness. So
I'm not going to go down that lane, but I really could. I am going to say this, though. Whole foods is the way. Mm-hmm. I know we love going out to eat, and I love going out to eat too. But we need to cook more at home, more whole foods. I have a young lady that I used to teach, and she always called me Miss Clemons. Miss Clemons, you'll be so proud of me. I made this, this, and this. And I'm saying to myself, no, I'm not proud. Because she's buying chicken that's already prepared and cut up. Well, honey, they have so many preservatives in that chicken. I know it says chicken, but it's already prepared and cut up. All you have to do is warm it. It's so many chemicals in it to keep it looking pretty till you're just defeating the purpose. Buy yourself a whole chicken and cut it up yourself if you want, to make it healthy. So whole foods is the way, is the way, is the way. Yeah, you can
absolutely.
Go but depends on what you're afraid of.
So that is a whole podcast in itself, and all the things about health and wellness, and that deserves, like, we might need to bring you back, and all we talk about is health and wellness and so forth.
Yes.
So I love it that that's your passion, and how you got to the point where a tragedy, a loss, led you to create Diane's Call for the legacy of your mother, but also for other people's legacy. Because that's really what you're doing through your nonprofit, is how do you change the lives of other people? And so, but what Diane's Call did was it changed your life first.
Absolutely.
First, it changed your life, and then it changed your life from how you transition from being a full-time employee. So tell us about that first grant and how you were able to send me an email, say, hey, guess what today is? Tell us about that transition there.
Well, when I got the $229,000 grant, I put myself in the grant. And you had already told me, Bonita, like, you're really doing too much. You got to figure out what you're going to do here. And even though I wanted to hold on to that job, I didn't need to. Even though it was doing what I love to do, I just could not give the grant the 100% that it needed, still doing this 40 hours a week. And that's one thing that a lot of people struggle with. They don't want to let that, for sure, I'm going to call it for sure money, that check, they don't want to let it go. I didn't want to let it go, but I had to. So after a couple of years of doing that, I had to resign so that I could do this full time, because I knew if I focused and gave it full time, then more money would be coming in. That's the part we don't see all the way down that far. You got to pick a horse and ride them.
Yeah, and I love that point that you made too, and I want everybody to really remember this, is you wrote yourself into the grant. That doesn't necessarily mean there's this idea that we talked about a lot, and it's actually a podcast guest we're having on in January. She was telling me about this idea, but it's that people want to grow in their nonprofits, and then they don't write that in for their budgets, for their grants, that growth. So it's that if you have somebody doing a full-time job, they need to be paid for a full-time job. Your executive director needs to be paid. This is not, this is not volunteer work, or the organization is not going to flourish. What if something happened to, this is her perspective, she put it in, but what if something happened, to you have this great grant and you have to hire somebody to come in. Well, if you wouldn't have wrote in that salary for that grant, then nobody's going to nobody has the passion like you have. So being able to set that up and set it up for success and sustainability.
Yes. I want to talk about 2 other grants. Can I talk about those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the profit for Bonita Global. Remember, I had Bonita Global, Kid in Zone, Diane's call-in working full-time. When I think about it, I get tired. So for Bonita Global, I love the USDA. They had a grant because now that I'm living in Sumter, working with farmers, so now I'm hanging out with farmers, and so now I'm growing food, right? Because remember, nutrition is a very important part in some kind of way. I saw getting in the field, getting in the soil as a way to nurture my health. So I was introduced to a grant that was called the Value Added Producer Grant. I started growing hibiscus, which is good for everything. And this grant, and I bought some show and tell, y'all. This grant allowed me to take what I was doing. I was making hibiscus tea and just selling at farmers market. But this grant took me to another level. And I started selling this on the market. This is hibiscus ginger tea. I won a $75,000 grant to plan, just to plan. They have 2 grants for value added. They have a $75,000 to plan. Then they have a $250,000 working capital. And this was several years ago when I did this. So I saw the people who are over the value added last week, and she said, "We ready for you to come to do the 250." I said, "Yes," but when COVID hit, I stopped making the tea. But again, I was doing something I already love to do, found out about this grant, and I was like, "There's a such thing?" There's a such thing. They will give you money to plan to be successful. A planning grant, $75,000. Then once you've planned and you're successful, you go back and you get a $250,000 grant to take it way to the next level.
Yeah, and that's really critical, right? The government wants to support entrepreneurship, and they do that in many different ways. So USDA, they do it in their own unique, special way, where they say, we want you to consider how do you use U.S. grown products and to turn that into a product that can go to the economy, because we want to produce more crops, more goods. And so that's one of the mission of USDA is helping our community of farmers out there. And so these grants help us to innovate in different ways. Now, if you are a for-profit organization, there are some grants for for-profit. There's SBIR grants, and what we're going to talk a lot more detail about SBIR, STTR grants. These are grants for a for-profit organization to where you can say, I have this idea, and so innovative that if I just have funding to do it, well, historically, most people say, go talk to an angel investor or go talk to a VC. That's one path. But we have grant opportunities for profit and for nonprofit. And if you tap into this marketplace here, there's resources out there to help you. And Bonita, you tap into this resource, got this $75,000 to help make a hibiscus drink that you're already producing on the side.
On the side, on the ground, on the low. Yes. And it was in stores. It was in stores.
So tell us about other and where you are in your journey as a business owner and also as a nonprofit.
Okay, the other opportunities, I was awarded for the profit side, Bonita Global. So let me back up a little bit. I still do Diane's Call. I still do Bonita Global. I don't do the Kidding Zone. I still have the website, but I don't do that piece anymore because this other part and working with the USDA has become so demanding and so beautiful. we're in 24, January of 2023, I received a contract. So when COVID hit, the USDA saw how fragile and weak our food system in America is. So they started putting money in the local farmers. So there's a local food movement. If you're not familiar, it's a local food movement that is going on in this country now. And I'm so excited about it because, again, COVID exposed how fragile our food system was. So they said, we're going to put some money back into local farmers, small farmers.
Yeah.
Small meaning anywhere from 5 to 500 acres. They consider that small. They have a grant that's called LFPA, Local Food Purchase Agreement. This grant allowed me to really easily cross that threshold of being $1 million company.
Wow.
Doing exactly what I love to do. Work with farmers, buy food from farmers. The catch to this is we have to donate the food. So Bonita Global got the contract, but work with the farmers, help them with some technical support. Technical support meaning farming is a business, and a lot of the smaller farmers that I work with, they didn't treat it as a business. So I had to help them to get up to that. I buy the food from them with the profit company, right? Then the nonprofit Bonita Global, we have an agreement. Bonita Global and 20 other organizations distribute the food to the low income, I think the word now is low wealth areas. So I'm getting to do everything that my heart desires, what I love to do, what I'm passionate about with the government. I mean, you can't dream it up. You really can't. And it is such a beautiful thing. And I got notice last week. So it was supposed to end. This is supposed to end in March of 2024. I received an email saying we're going to extend it. So who knows how long it's going to last. I hope for ever is fine with me.
So how much money were you supposed to spend in that program there? So you got the contract, but then there's also the money to purchase food from the local farmers. So what was the budget? Do you remember?
So the budget is whatever I spent, whatever they gave, let me see, one quarter I remember in particular was like, I purchased $349,000 worth of food. And they give you 30% for admin costs of what you sell. So that's the admin cost.
Mm-hmm. So the more you spend, the more admin money comes to you as an organization.
Each quarter is different because of the different seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So like in the summertime, there's a lot of food. Like during this time, it's not as much as it is in the summertime. Hence, that's why people used to can and preserve their own foods, because there's a time of abundance and there's a time of less food. So during the second and third quarter, that's when it's a lot of food. Really, that third quarter, the most amount of food that's grown in South Carolina. In the fourth quarter, we just pretty much have sweet potatoes, collard greens, and so there's less money being spent. So this quarter, I spent $85,000 for this quarter. Because again, I'm buying from local farmers, what they have, and local means up to 400 miles. So I can go up to 400 miles. So I do buy some things from Georgia farmers, some from North Carolina farmers also, because I can go up to 400 miles and it's still considered local.
So I have a question about, does this include, when we say farmers, does this include like cattle farmers and that kind of stuff too? Or is it only for vegetables?
Cattle also. Now, I'm a vegetarian.
Okay.
However, I have purchased beef and pork
Okay.
from the cattle farmers and from the pig farmers. Yes.
Yeah, so I know a little bit, not enough to be dangerous, of doing some grants just with some friends I have. They're cattle farmers around me, and there's always beef opportunities on fedbid.com.
Absolutely.
Always.
See, to me, the meat industry to me is bigger
Yeah.
than the produce. I'm playing in the small pond. Yeah. But yeah, and so let me tell you what, when I work with the beef and the pig farmers, they like to tell me how they do the process. I was like, I don't want to hear. It's okay. I'm still gonna pay you the check. They're excited, and I'm excited for them, but I don't need to hear the process.
You don't need to tour the slaughterhouse. You just need to write the check and package, saran wrap, everything's ready to go.
And
Yeah.
it is beautiful too. I mean, I've seen it when they brought it in. So they'll bring it to me, and then we'll distribute it out. But let me tell you, the feeling of paying local farmers is the best feeling in the world. Because the small farmers had been overlooked for many, many years. People want the big farmers. But again, with this movement of local food, people wanting to know their farmers, and people want the stories of the farmers. They don't just want to know that my food is grown down the street. They want to know about who that farmer is. So I tell them. And I do a lot of on my Facebook. I don't do really good on social media, all the platforms, but on Facebook, I do a kind of decent job of showing the farmers when they bring the food in. But again, writing them their check for their hard work is a blessing to me, and I get paid to do it.
So you get to do what you love to do.
Yes.
You get to help other people. You get
Yes.
to leave your full-time job so that you can do your passion. That's
Yes.
really a lot of people's dream.
Yes.
Now, if you are just joining us here live, we have Bonita Clemons, who runs 3 organizations. She left her full-time job to do her passion, and the government is paying her to do that. And so she runs a for-profit and nonprofit, and she gets to help people. She gets to give people food, and she gets to pay people for their produce and for their meat products, and serve the community. So really, that is the best place. Many people dream of doing something like that there. Now, tell us a little about in that journey there. One of the other things you do is you really try to uplift and educate people as it relates to health and wellness. One other quick comment: if you're joining us, if you have questions, if you want to meet up with Bonita, because there may be some synergy here, we will give all her contact information in a little bit. So, and if you have questions for her, we will have a little bit of time where you can type in your questions, and she can answer some of your questions along the way as well. But tell us about some of the other things you're doing with the university and some of the programs you're doing to educate people about how to become a farmer. Go into that side of it a little bit.
Okay. So with the university here, USC, the University of South Carolina, they have a program that's called New Soul. And it's a program where they have 2 types of eating regimens. One is vegetarian, and one, it has another name. No, one is vegan, and one, I think they call it omnivore. So I teach for them, but I teach the vegan side of it. And again, that's at the university. Their program is called New Soul. You can look that up. They're getting ready to start a new class. I teach at the university for that. And there was another question you asked me. And we do that with the university. Oh, yeah, so I do also with the university. They have a program that's called Food Share. Food Share. Food Share. I love kitchens, by the way, y'all. I love commercial kitchens. So I am at another university called Lenore Ryan. This is where my office is. My Diane's Calling Bonita Global office is housed at Lenore Ryan University, where they allow me to use their cold storage. Also at Lenore Ryan is where we did the summer feeding program. The summer feeding program is a USDA program in the summertime where you feed kids who are on free and reduced lunch, because during the summer they don't have the opportunity to get that breakfast and lunch, and sometimes that's the only meals that they get. So at that university, we were able to do like 1,600 meals per day, which means I had the money to pay a staff, a team that cooks, a team that packs the food, a team that delivers the food. I was the person who ordered the food. Again, I always put myself in the grants, because I'm going to be working on them anyway. And so at that university, we did the summer feeding, and we still use the cold storage for the program that we're using now.
So let me ask you a little bit more detail.
Okay.
So how do you, so two questions, and we can take one at a time. So the first question, how do you write yourself into the grant practically? And so that those who are watching, they're like, how do I do that? So
Okay.
give us an example of how you did that practically into the grant.
So with all grants, they're going to ask you to do a budget. And in the budget, you need to name the positions that you're going to have. Once you name the positions, you have to make a detailed narrative of what they're going to be doing. So I am the executive director of Diane's Call. I have to submit my resume and tell exactly what I'm going to be doing as the executive director. With the summer feeding, you have to have a purchaser. Somebody's got to buy the food. The purchaser, I am the purchaser. How do you write yourself into the grant? When you do the budget, you have to list what you're going to do with the money. In the area where you put the positions, you write one of the positions for you to work, to do that work. Every grant is going to have a budget, which is the piece they look at first. So now I am with the organization called SARE, Southern SARE, S-A-R-E. You can put in SARE.org. We give grants to farmers and ranchers. So now I get to see how they work on that side. The first thing I do, I look at the budget. The budget's going to always tell the story. Sometimes they don't read all the other stuff too much, but they're going to look at that budget first. That budget has to make sense. That budget has to tell the story about what you're going to, the budget really tells you everything. What you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how much it costs.
So if you guys didn't catch that, Bonita just said that she runs a fund that is supported by USDA, and her job is to give out grants to farmers. Mm-hmm. So tell us about what type of farmers are you looking for, and are they geographically located, or are they only in South Carolina, or are there other programs outside of what you're doing?
It's 13 states. Don't ask me to name all 13. We're in the southern region. So SARE, S-A-R-E, is divided into, the whole United States is divided into 4 regions. I'm in the southern region. Again, I cover 13 states. I can call a few, but maybe not all 13. But if you go on SARE.org, you'll see the Southern SARE. I'm in that area. We're looking for small farmers who practice regenerative farming. That means they don't use a lot of the big chemicals, the harsh chemicals and pesticides. They do more of no-tilling, and they do a lot with nurturing the soil. That's one of the issues we have with our soil eroding, and the more chemicals you put in the soil, the more you have to put the next year. So that kills the soil, which when you grow the food, the food doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. So we're looking for farmers who are small, who practice regenerative farming, and we call it sustainable farming. You want to keep the soil fertile, so you have to do some regenerative practices. Those are the type of farmers that we're looking for.
So what do they come up with the grant size that they want, or do you guys have specific grants that you list?
It's very specific. It's very specific. In January, I got to read like 21 they call producer grant. So there are 5 different grants. One is for graduate students. One is for on-farm research. One is called education and research. And that one is the largest one, which I think is like $400,000. Producer grant and professional development. So there are 5 different grants. They're very specific. You can read now and know when to apply for next year on those grants. But yeah, they're very specific. They tell you how much money we give for each grant.
So they need to go to SARE, SARE.org.
Make sure. SARE.org.
I also want to answer this question. I'm going to put it on the screen right quick. So the question here is, do you have to have a 501c3 to get grants? And no, you do not. There is for-profit grants. If you're a nonprofit, you probably need to go ahead and start your 501c3 journey. According to where you're located at, there's some organizations that you can actually, while you're in this process, borrow a 501c3. So you just kind of come underneath their 501c3. And so you can do that. But if you're a nonprofit, you probably need to move in that direction. But there's for-profit grants. And Bonita just told us about a for-profit grant that she got. So she did not need a 501c3 to get that grant.
Right. I've gotten several. I received several grants that were for the profit company. Several. I got a call yesterday, the day before, for another one, 5-year for the profit side. They just keep coming. What you were talking about earlier, if you don't have a 501, if you see a grant that you want and you qualify for and you do not, and it requires a 501c3 and you don't have one, find an organization that does have the 501c3 and they are called the physical agent. They'll be the ones to receive it. And a lot of grants will allow you to do that. Because when I apply, they'll ask me, am I using a physical agent? I'll say no, because I already have my 501c3. So if you see one that you apply for, you qualify for, and you don't have your 501c3, just find you a physical agent. That means the money will go to them and they will get an admin fee to administer and make sure that the money's being spent right.
Yes. And a lot of times we say to look at your local community foundation, which our guest for our next podcast in January, that is who she is. It's Michelle Prater. She's at the North Georgia Community Foundation. She's going to be telling us all about that. But if you're not in North Georgia, look at your local community foundation. There's one, Bonita, I don't know if you're connected with your one in South Carolina. There's one in every single state. There's a lot of times in cities have them as well. So I would definitely get connected to that. I did have a question for you, Bonita. Did you go through an unsolicited proposal process with the USDA? Like you brought them a solution to their problem or no?
I did not.
Okay. Sorry. I was for some reason I was thinking you had that in somewhere in your story, but
no, I can do it though, but I have not done that. Yeah, they've always come. And, now they come to me now. Like I can seek, but because I've been doing this work, I do want to say, since that time I sent Abe that letter that I'm leaving my job, I have not gone back, have not thought about going back. But it took me about 20 different jobs to get to that point. And a mindset like, I'm not going back because I don't have to. I have the talent, the knowledge, the work ethic to make this work.
Yeah, I think believing in yourself is huge. Abe believed in you, but believing in your own self and knowing that at the end of the day, you are going to get it done. And I think that can apply for contracting. If you're, starting your nonprofit, it can do everything. And you're the perfect. That's why we wanted to get you on this podcast so bad, because we had so many questions. How do you merge nonprofit and for-profit? Like how we had a podcast about the marriage between grants and contracts. And so many people were questioning, what do you mean? Like, how do you have both? And we're like, we need to get Bonita on here. She's going to explain exactly how we have both, because she's a real life example of how both work so well together.
And they both are in SAM, and they both, I have to renew at the same time every year. It used to be different times. No, they're at the same time every year now. They have their own, the 501c3 has a board, different reporting requirements with the IRS. My for-profit has its own entity. But there is an agreement. We have a written agreement that MOA that we work together.
Yeah, so by doing the agreement, it allows you to stay compliant, and because the money can be commingled, so that's very important. If you have a nonprofit, for-profit, or if you have a nonprofit, you think about starting a for-profit, or if you are for-profit, you need to work for some nonprofit, and so you can either do a cooperative agreement, or you can actually start your own nonprofit and work closely together. So we're closing out this podcast here. There's some questions we're going to address in a second. But before we get to the questions, tell us what are some of the biggest challenges, lessons learned, and some advice you want to leave our audience here with.
Lessons learned. Number one, I said it earlier. Find a horse and ride it. Don't do like I did in the beginning. I was doing way too much. The challenge is if you have a job, not wanting to leave it. You want to hold on to that for sure check every 2 weeks. If you need to do that, do that. Mm-hmm. Don't put yourself in a very stressful situation. But I knew I was ready. You'll know when you're ready. And when you're ready, you need to let it go. But number one, find that one thing and focus on it. It's going to come. It might take a while. So I knew that I wanted to focus on health and wellness and nutrition. I just held to that. And I'm getting to do that with the profit and the nonprofit. I teach classes in the community. This is another thing I do at the university with Food Share. I teach classes about nutrition. So I take the food that the government gives me money for to purchase food from farmers. Then I get to bring that food in and show people how to cook it. So I was able, again, to, first of all, I had to choose that one thing that I was going to do. The babysitting was beautiful. And I was able to, turn that into health and wellness. But I had to let that go. I still, like I said, I still have the website, but I couldn't do all of that and do all of this. So now everything is in alignment. Everything is about fresh food, whole food, farming, nutrition. Everything I do, everything is about that. And so now the money's come to me. But yeah, the biggest challenge was wanting to do it all, wanting to do everything. Don't do that.
Yeah, in our world, we call it taking mitigated risk, because you have to give something up to gain something else. Mm-hmm. It's extremely rare that you just get lucky and everything just kind of falls into your lap, right? You have to say, I only have 24 hours in a day. I have all these different dreams, all these different passions. I need to put food on the table. When do I leave my full-time job? So these are all the different things, and for everybody it's different. Yes. For me, it was different. For you, it was different. I remember I was going through a really tough time when I decided to start the Government Contractors Association to really do this here. Yes. I had to decide, okay, I'm going to jump in this here full time. I had no revenue come in, no member in the association. So to me, that's what I did, right? I said, this is what I want to do. This is my dream, is to do this here to help people. And I jump into it full time. You balanced it with keeping a job until you get your first contract, you got to your second grant, your first grant, and then you sent me an email saying, Abe, I submitted my 2 weeks notice today. And so you took more of a mitigated risk. It's still risky because nothing's guaranteed. And so for everybody who's here, you have to at some point invest in yourself. You have to say, I'm going to invest in myself. And I have to be willing to make sacrifices. Part of sacrifices is investing in yourself. You bet on yourself versus somebody else betting on you. Mm-hmm. That's a very important lesson in terms of what you've shared. Any final advice? Yes. Final advice you want to give to people?
Yes, just one thing. Because if I give you all of the ones, you're not going to remember them. But this one piece of advice, I'm telling you, you got to do it. You have to get a mentor. If I did not have Abe, there's no way under the sun, no matter how smart I think I am, I would have gotten that grant. I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to write it. You have to, I advise, if you want to cut 10 years off of trying to figure it out, get a mentor. I suggest you get with this group right here, because that's the one that made me as successful as I became, and I am now. I tell you, I still talk about Abe. We met in 2014, and he'll tell you I still call him to this day. I will call him in a minute. Like, I'm stuck. I need some help, because I know he has the answer.
Yeah, that's very important. And
Yes,
thank you for. I love what I do, and
I
watching
know.
people succeed and people thrive. That's the
Mhm.
best reward I get in terms of helping people. And so I'm really excited that your journey has taken you to live your exact passion of what you want to
Yeah.
do. And that's really what life is about, right? Some of
Mhm.
us, we work for other people. We never get to the point where we get to live our passion. And then not just live our passion, but let our passion pay for what we enjoy doing. And
Yes.
so you are a good example of shaving some things so that you can really do what you enjoy and get paid to
Mhm.
do that there. So
And
now
I
we're
want
going
to
to
say
take.
thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
We're gonna take a few questions. And so,
Okay.
Lainey, do we have any questions from the audience that we want to have Bonita answer quickly before our podcast here, wraps up?
I think right now there might be some that comes in since we open it up for questions. Um,
I want to say one thing while we're waiting on the questions. People look at my life now, and in their mind, I don't work. And that baffles me. But what it is, they see me having so much fun, it doesn't look like I work. They'll call me out doing that. What you doing? I'm working. What you doing? They just don't think that I work.
well, I feel like people think that with me with GCA. It must be nice, and I I've been working all day. I don't know what you mean by that, but yes.
So I think
Mhm.
that's what happens when you're doing what you love. It people think you're not working.
So we did have a question come in. It's not for Bonita, but Kay Young posted and she said, "Is it possible to focus on real estate?" Yes, it is. If there is anybody, if there's something that's for sale, the government wants it, and real estate is one of those. Another one just came in. How do we get a mentor?
Well, let me ask a little bit more in details about the real estate because not Bonita, you get to do exactly what you love. Other people have different passion and
Mhm, mhm,
related to real. Some of you are real estate investor. Some of
mhm.
you are construction. Some of you love janitorial services where you create an environment where people can work in a healthy environment through janitorial services. So everybody have their own passion in terms of what you love, what you're great at. So specifically around real estate, my background is real estate, and I bought, you know, lots of properties, flip houses, and apartment complexes and other things in the past. But in the government market, they buy everything, right? We talked about that earlier. The government buys everything. If you are in real estate, you can do property preservation. HUD has all of these properties that when the government forecloses on a property, if it's FHA or government guarantee housing loans, it goes back to HUD. HUD has to take all those properties. And so you can do asset management, managing all those assets. There's a company that I actually work with where they take all of the HUD homes, they package it into one big asset class, and then they auction it to hedge funds. Now, I'm not talking about 2 homes or 10 homes. I'm talking about 500 homes or 1,000 homes. They package into asset class and they auction it at pennies on the dollar. So there's opportunities in real estate, whether you do plumbing, you can do winterizing of HUD properties. The government is the largest real estate holder in the world. The DOD has over 550,000 facilities. Think about that. 550,000 facilities worldwide, all these buildings and all of these different facilities around the world. They need property managers, they need janitorial services, they need IT services in these facilities. So yeah, there's opportunities in everything out there. Now, second question is, how do you find a mentor? There's a lot of great mentors out there. The way you find a mentor is you find someone who really loves what they do, who finds someone that has a track record. You find someone that's not selling you hype. Because if you go online, there's a lot of gurus out there who they will sell you hype. They will say, sign up for this program and you'll be a multimillionaire tomorrow. So don't buy hype. Investigate all the different. Now, there's a lot of great coaches, a lot of great resources out there. I'll give you some free resources for you guys to check out quickly. Every state has an Apex Accelerator if you're interested in the government market. So if you go to the Apex Accelerator, there's also the SBDC, the Small Business Development Corporation. SBDC is funded by taxpayer like all of us. SBDC is a great resource. The SBA is another great resource. SCORE is another great resource. But some of those are great resources, but Lainey and I, we're part of the Government Contract Association. We're also additional resources to you. You can go to our association website, govassociation.org, and we do coaching program, we have mentorship programs, and we have support. And then that kind of comes to our last thing we want to talk about. And so 2025 is rolling around the corner, and we're going to launch a government contracting community. And it's going to be a community where everybody can come, and you can come and connect with people like Bonita. You can come and ask questions in the community. You can come and give help to other people. You can come and say, I need a proposal writer. I need a grant writer. And there's somebody in the community that can say, hey, I can help you with that. If you need funding, if you need an accountant, if you need a lender, if you need some of these things here, it is available out there. So I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. We haven't launched yet. So the website I'm not going to make that available yet because the website is not ready to launch. We're about 70% there, but I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. And if you are interested in becoming part of this community, we're going to give away what we call a founding member, a free founding member to be part of this community with us. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to give you a sneak peek into the community here. So this is the community here. And within the community, you can come and you can go in here and you can say, I have some questions. And you can come ask questions. You can, if you're in the government contracting space, you can come and talk about posts, do different things. You can do grants if you're part of the grants community. We're going to aggregate every single event related to grants and contracts, and we're going to put it into one place. So it's going to be a place where if you just want to find what are the things that's happening around government contracting, whether it's an industry day, whether it's a matchmaking event, or whether it's just a class to learn about something, we're going to bring all of that together. So all of the different events that's happening in terms of in the industry is going to be posted into one place. And then we're also going to what we call Teaming Corner. Teaming Corner is going to be really awesome. Teaming Corner is a place where you can actually come and say, and we're going to have pitch day. So when on Teaming Tuesday, you can come and say, my name is Abraham. I have a company that does IT services. We're looking for a 8A company that can help us get some sole source contract. We have a relationship with a contracting officer. They want to sole source it to an 8A company, but we're not 8A certified, and we need an 8A teaming partner. You can come and pitch what you're looking for. And so this is your opportunity in a live interaction to look for people that you can team with to go after projects. So this is something we're going to launch early in January. We're going to announce it to all of you who's part of a community. You'll get a chance, an opportunity to be part of this community here. Now, we are looking for founding members. Founding member just means this here, that you will forever be a founding member of this community. And the membership, to be part of the community, we have a free tier. It's $49, but we're gonna make it free for everybody that wants to be part of the community. If you want to be a founding member with all of the benefits and all the features that we have for founding members is $149, but we're going to give you half price so you can be a founding member. But today we're going to give a lifetime founding member just for all of you who are part of the community here, who's joining us live today. And so Lainey is going to think of a number between 1 and 500. She's going to write it down. And then if you are joining us live, we want you to type in the chat area your guess of what that number is between 1 and 500. And then Lane is going to reveal that number. And then the person closest to that number, we're going to give you a lifetime founding member into the new community here. And you can attend. The events are free for you. If a member can attend for free, you can attend for free. You do not have to pay. All you had to do was hang out with us today. And so lifetime founding member into the community, launching. It's called the Government Contractor Community. And so it's launching soon. So put your number into the chat. And we're going to look at that in 1 second. So Bonita, any final closing comments for everybody before we wrap up here?
Yes. Don't pull the trigger until you're ready. And when you're ready, don't look back. Just don't do it. Join this community, of course, because it's going to save a lot of time, headache, stress for you. You have to join this community. Like I told you, I met him in 2014. I'm still hanging on. Because
we do have a coaching program. If you do need help, I love helping people. We have a coaching program and a mentorship program. So just reach out to us at info@govcontractors.org and be more than happy to talk about your organization and what your goals are, and so that you can be in a place like Bonita where you don't have to look back. And if you are transitioning, you don't have to go get a job again. If you are already in your small business, but you want to scale to the next level, we do have that available. So with that said, Lainey, why don't you reveal what that special number is, and we're going to we're going to see who the winner is.
Yes. So my number, always have it written down. It's 222. And I think the closest one, which I could be wrong on this, is this number, Mbika McGee, 199.
All right, Mbika, congratulations. So lifetime membership as a founding member in the new community. So that's awesome. Congratulations. Now we will be launching, and we will send out invites to all of you. So if you're interested in being a founding member, you can still be a founding member and get all the benefits as well. And then lots of great stuff. In another session, we're going to talk about that. We do have a free event that's coming up. Via, can you put the link? We have a free event that's coming up. If you want to learn more about government contracting, we have a class that's coming up. And then to wrap that up, Lainey, you want to share about our next guest in our next podcast?
Yes. So first I want to say, Mbika, please email us so that we can get all of this set up for you. We want you to get your lifetime membership. I posted the email in the comments. It's just info@govcontractors.org. But yes, so we, the holidays are fastly approaching. And so for the next 2 weeks, Christmas on a Wednesday. So we actually do not have our podcast, and then it'll be New Year's. So the next time we will see everybody will be on January 8th. And we're really excited for our guest. That is Michelle Prater from the North Georgia Community Foundation. And she's going to come just talk to us about what it's like being a funder, help give tips on that. And we're really excited to have her. So yeah, we will see everybody. I love saying this, but I'll see y'all all in 2025. See you next year.
Thank you again.
And if you want to connect with Bonita, her contact information, I think Via has posted into the chat area. If you are a farmer, or if you know a farmer that she can give some grants to, reach out to Bonita. And then she's all about health and wellness. And so if you have an interest in health and wellness, She's been on this journey longer than most of us, and so she has some great tips and some great, and she just loves to help and give back to the community. So if you want to engage Bonita, her contact information is in the chat area, or reach out to us and we can connect you directly with Bonita also. With that said, Bonita, it's so fun hanging out with you again.
Thank
Really
you.
glad to see how far you've come since our
I
first
know.
time together here in Atlanta, 10 years ago. And so I'm
Yeah.
just really encouraged by where you
Mhm.
are. And now you're at a place where you can actually do so much good with your passion.
Absolutely. It feels so good. And it's all because of you. Thank you.
Well, sometimes we have a gift, and so I'm glad that I get to do my passion, right? My passion is helping people, and so I get to do that as well. So with that, you are one contract away, and Lainey,
You're 1 grand away.
1 grand away from your goals, from all the dreams that you have. One contract, 1 grand away. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Bonita, thanks for hanging out with us today. All of you join us back on January 8th, where we will have another podcast. And until then, have a great holiday. And until next time, take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.